Preserving your classic Mercedes in a hot tropical climate. Does that sound like something familiar to you? Is it 90 degrees with a heat index of 130 right now? Is it overcast but also burning hot? Is it muggy but also at the same time you could use a rain shower maybe just to wash the mugginess off of you? Sounds like you might be in Florida or Louisiana or somewhere in Central America. I personally like it. I like it because it keeps my skin nice and soft. But, you know, can't have it that way all the time. Sometimes it gets to be so hot here that we start to see lots of things get damaged besides human skin and hair. It includes things like the dashboards and the wood on your Mercedes Benz. So we're going to talk about how to protect your car from the mugginess. So the first thing I have to say is, if you have one of these cars and you are parking it outside, you need to park it inside. Why is that? Because you need to keep the UV and the direct sunlight off of your paint so the paint doesn't fade or crack. Also, keep the UV off of your dashboard and your wood and your seats so they don't get discolored. All these things will change color in the sun. So you need to think about how you're going to do that. Another very important factor is protecting your body and structural components from moisture creep. Moisture creep is when you let your car sit around and moisture builds up inside the body panels and the exhaust, etc. And the best way to avoid this is just to drive the car and exercise it so air can flow through everything and scrub all the moisture. But if you can't do that, there are a couple of ways to absorb the moisture. You can use damp rid, you can use charcoal, you can use a dehumidifier in your garage, you can use an air conditioner, which is a great dehumidifier. You can use fans. You know, even a fan will keep air moving and keep it drier. So there are a lot of things that you have to do. I personally try to air my cars out every once in a while, but you know, moisture, even sitting around, will do things like negatively affect wood. It'll affect, if you have a velour interior, it may make the velour interior hard. There are a lot of negative consequences even if the car is indoors. And because they're not making any more of these cars, you need to think about these factors because they're very important for making sure you don't have to do a major restoration or the next owner has to do a major restoration in the future. Now, there's a little bit more to it as well. In these kinds of climates, things will seize. Brake calipers will seize. Engine oil will pick up latent humidity. Gas tanks will pick up latent humidity. So how do we deal with these things? Well, let's start with the gas tanks. First of all, you need to make sure you have a good gas cap seal. You can fill your tank up all the way. That helps. You can also add stable to your fuel. If you have to use ethanol fuel, though, I personally think it's better to put your car in a driving schedule so that you can burn through the fuel, because ethanol fuel will pick up water. So you really need to be burning through that fuel every 4 to 6 months minimum. Now, some other items like engine oil and transmission fluid, you may not be putting a ton of miles in the car, because I know here in Florida, the summer is sort of like the season where we use our cars less. And so it's a good idea if you haven't changed your oil in like 2 years to make sure you change it just to keep the moisture down. If you haven't exercised the brakes, it's probably a good idea to spray some sort of wax oil or something on your rotors and calipers to keep the moisture creep out. And it's the same thing in your body cavity too, to prevent surface rust from occurring. Find the entry points to your body cavities and use something like Noxidol, which is a spray wax, to protect the insides of these cavities. Now, with other things that are equally important, like hood pads and belts, I mean, a lot of these are going to be hard to deal with because they're made of rubber and they're soft rubber, they're made of foam, they dry out. The easiest way to prevent these specific items from going bad, again, is to keep some sort of moisture absorbing source near them. That could mean keeping a bucket of damp rid under each seat or by each seat, or keeping charcoal by each seat, or leaving the hood open so air can circulate around the hood pad. I mean, you have a lot of different things that you have to do. Another important thing, check are sunroof drains. You need to make sure your sunroof drains are clear. Now, if this sounds like a lot of work, it is. It is a lot of work. But the good news is just by simply exercising your car every few weeks, you can keep the cars, even if you take the car and drive it around just to get the engine up to temperature or whatever. It's not that bad of a chore. And unless you're me and you have to work on cars all the time, it is kind of a fun thing to do, try to make it interesting. The last thing I'm going to mention in this video are batteries. So batteries do tend to evaporate moisture off, even if you keep them on a maintainer. So it's a good idea if you have a big HD battery, like an HD8 or Group 49, which is the big massive battery you find in every V8 or diesel Mercedes. You pull the caps on them and check the water level, and if it's low, you use distilled water to top it up so the battery will hold a charge better, because the water will evaporate in very hot weather. Okay, well, I hope you guys found this nice little video about keeping your car from rotting to death in the tropics interesting. Please try to follow some of these guidelines, at least some of them, so that you don't end up with stuck brake calipers or a cracked dashboard. And please try to find a way to keep your car inside. Even if you have to go out of your way and find a garage you can rent or something, it's much cheaper to pay for indoor storage than to pay for a dashboard or an interior recover wood later. And the thing is, like, the replacement stuff is never as good as the original. It just isn't. So try to preserve your car's original finishes as best you can. We'll see you in the future. Take great care of your classic Mercedes.
I was thinking people in the Southwest would have that.